They said no, there's one for that.
I have another child.
Micah would be in the running.
Oh, excellent.
Curtis works in those decisions right now. Our 3 daughters. Sue's name's because I said it is the baby's mother. So they were so I was playing all their children. And that worked for a while because they figured out that I really was trying to point out that I played a role in babies all their children. Sue's dad had
Be careful for what's that was part of my fellow.
Well, my calling in respect to AT&T says 1 o'clock.
Maybe they should just give you one.
Jared's out of order already.
We can separate this.
You know, we might ought to try something like that. Welcome, everyone. Glad to see everybody here. It's a great day in Missouri Southern. Getting a little bit of rain, we can always use that. So if we can keep it a little bit, I think is the key term. Anyone have any announcements this morning, or this afternoon, excuse me? You have the minutes in front of you from the August 23rd meeting, and the chair would entertain a motion if anyone would like to make one.
Move approval.
Mr. Fleischaker makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Allison makes the second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're to the reports, and the first item up is the treasurer's report from Mrs. Eis.
Thank you and good afternoon. We'll look at the financial statements that are dated August 31st, 2016. First thing we'll look at is the cash graph, and the cash balance at this time is at $9.7 million. And this is an increase of $2.9 million over the prior year. And a lot of that difference is, you'll recall at the beginning of last year, we had significant construction on campus, which was a great thing, but obviously we were paying for those construction invoices. And although we have construction this year, it's not quite at the same volume. So that is primarily the difference there between the 2 years. When we move to the statement of net position, total assets are at $157 million, and total liabilities are at $77 million, and this gives us total net assets of approximately about $80 million. In this month, the month of September, next week, we'll make our semi-annual bond payment, and that total payment of principal and interest will be about $2.2 million. When we look at the comparative statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position, we always look at the difference column, and total operating revenues are up by $1.7 million. And as we'll talk about enrollment later in the meeting, you can see some of the impact on that, where the tuition and fees dollars have increased over the prior year, as well as auxiliary has increased, and a lot of that is from the new quads that have opened. So you can see the impact of that as well. And we also have some bookstore sales that are up. Total operating expenses show an increase of about $247,000. Some of that's from contract services, and some of that's timing. Depreciation's up a little bit. As you know, we've got significant buildings that we put on the books, so depreciation's going to go up a little bit. We have non-operating revenues that show an increase of $841,000. A big piece of that obviously is appropriations, and also the money that's coming in for the UMKC agreement. Income before the revenues in the current year is showing $16.8 million, and in the prior year it was at $14.5 million. So that's showing an increase of $2.3 million over the prior year. Then we also have our capital appropriations, the state reimbursement for Reynolds Hall, and that continues to go very smoothly. We request those reimbursements every month, and they're always very quick to get that reimbursement back out to us. Also wanted to mention, we had talked about the line of credit, and we have signed documents with S&B Bank that we will will now currently have a line of credit of $5 million.
Good.
And that concludes my report, and I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Linda, I have one question. On
Yes,
the
ma'am.
cash that we set on, that's all at United Missouri Bank, right? The 6.5 million that it shows?
That is correct.
What kind of a rate do we get on that in the money market, or do we not get a rate and we get credit for checks and all that? How does that work?
We did have some of that invested with CDs, and at that time it was getting a 0.65%. We had gone out for an RFP on that, and we had had that at Mid-Missouri Bank, and that was there for 2 years. Those have all matured. The final ones matured in May, and so I honestly, I was looking to kind of get through the audit period, and then I wanted to talk to you about, did we want to look at reinvesting some of that? Did we want to issue another RFP? The bank right now is giving us about 0.30. When we did Mid-Missouri, the bank was actually at 0.15. So the bank actually is a hair better, but obviously not as good as 0.65 that we got from the Mid-Missouri CDs. So we can certainly entertain some conversation about getting those reinvested, how much of that you would want to reinvest, and perhaps we could talk through that at a committee meeting. Okay, thank
Probably
you.
could ladder those out there. We
Yeah,
wouldn't be
sometimes
cash
the
poor.
banks will charge those, you know, they don't pay you much interest, but then they'll charge you fees for your ACH transactions, and your transfers, and your checks, and the number of debits, and all those kind of things, and then they, you know, kind of balance that out. But I didn't know, when you do your banking RFP every year, if they have a set rate on that, or if it fluctuates.
Set rate on the fees.
The fees and the deposit rate.
On the deposit rate, I think they had a minimum balance on that, and the last time we went out for an RFP was about 3 years ago on the banking. So that is also something that we'll be looking to do is put another RFP out there for our financial institution. That timing is rolling around again, that we need to take a look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Any other questions of Linda? We certainly like seeing the better news on these financials. That's, they are looking much better than what we've seen them look in the past, so very much
Ralph's gonna
appreciated.
spend it.
Well, I always say it's definitely a campus effort, you know. You can definitely
Absolutely.
tell the hard work that's paying off in the enrollment.
Absolutely, and it reaches, it's everyone. It's everyone associated with the university. Very much appreciated. We need to take action to approve Linda's report. Is there a motion to do so? Bill makes a motion, Mike makes a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Rob, are you really gonna spend some of this money?
I'm gonna tell you a little bit how we're spending some of
All
that.
right, don't spend too much.
We'll start with construction. The first one off the block here is Reynolds Hall remodeling and addition. We took a tour over there earlier this week, and it's exciting on the 3rd floor that the transition has taken place from the old to the new. We now have new walls up. They gutted the whole 3rd floor, and we had new walls up. Some of them have been mudded and taped, and some of them actually have already got paint on them. They're already finalized with the paint. We are installing cabinets. It's odd you can see cabinets going in when it's not even totally finished, but I asked the contractor, they put the cabinets in and they come up the floor, lay the floor, and then go up the side of the cabinet, so as if there's spills, it's easy to take care of, so it makes sense. So it's exciting times over there. First floor design is still being worked on, priced, and there's plenty of moves that has to happen between now and next summer, between Reynolds Hall and the annex, and then going back the other direction too. So a lot of stuff to happen in the next six to 8 months. The next project is Joplin Regional Center, and if you recall, we took occupancy of that facility, a portion of that facility last week. We are in the process of renovating. The first thing is to take up some asbestos tiles, and we're taking care of that, and then we will gut it and build it back for our Child Development Center. Our plan is still to have Child Development Center move over to that location next spring break. Taylor Hall remodel. We are looking at the design and the development of that facility, the additions to Taylor Hall. Recall that's going to be renovated where the Child Development Center currently is. When they move over to Joplin Regional Center, we'll take that space and renovate it as well as a new addition to Taylor Hall to house our psychology. And the need for that is because UMKC is coming next year to establish a satellite dental school on our campus, which has been fantastic as well. They'll take occupancy of that area in the Health Sciences Building next July 1st. And now all of those, the Joplin Regional Center, the Taylor Hall remodel and addition, is to be funded from the $2 million that we received this year in our base. So we'll pay ourselves back over the course of time. Trail project, it's a great, exciting project. We're just now in the waiting stage with the city of Joplin. They're engineering the bridge and the trail, so we hope to get that thing started probably in the springtime, and finished by summer. Construction out of the way. The next thing I want to talk about is the insurance. We have open enrollment on this campus in October, beginning October 3rd. We have scheduled forums for our employees. Thanks to Dr. Kramer, his suggestion, and then we heed that word, and we're going to have multiple forums on the 26th and 27th of this month that will discuss all the aspects of the partially self-insurance. We will have our consultant, Gallagher and Associates, there. We'll have Cigna, our new provider, will be there to answer any questions. I would encourage all employees to attend and ask as many questions as they possibly can. That's it.
I will say kudos to that. That is it's great to have those kind of open meetings. Any kind of change, everybody always wonders how it's going to work. So that's a great thing to move forward.
We try to describe that as much as possible, but you know as well as I, there's always that question somebody has in the back of their mind that they're not asking at that time. So we encourage everybody to attend or send questions with their fellow employee. Maybe somebody will ask that question.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just jump back to all the building projects that are going on. Bob Herring is not here, unfortunately. He and his crew deserve a big tip of the cap for all the things that, all the balls they're juggling. Did a great job.
Yes.
All right, next up is the athletic director, Mr. Jared Bruggeman. Jared.
Thank you. I will keep it rather brief. There's a much more detailed report for you to peruse through, but I will say that one thing that really stands out as far as performances is our cross-country program. Vincent, one of our runners who was runner-up national champ last year, was the national cross-country runner of the week 2 weeks ago. As well as at that meet, we perfect scored. Perfect scoring in cross-country means that you go first through fifth place, all are on your team. So it's really unusual to have that happen, to say the least. And we have some freshmen involved in that as well as a couple of seniors. So it's great to see their performance, and we're looking forward to, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute, is the Southern Stampede going on tomorrow, which brings about 2,500 competitors from university level to high school level. And so if you're around campus tomorrow morning from 8 o'clock till about 1 o'clock, it'll be packed over on that side of the street. So if you want to see performances high level, certainly with some of our own athletes, that'd be a great place to go and watch that.
What's the forecast?
Well, it's going to rain tonight, but it should be nice tomorrow. So far we've been pretty good about estimating.
Perfect weather.
Yeah, perfect weather. So I'll keep it cool. But anyway, I think it's important to note that just the performance that we're seeing with our cross-country program is very stellar. I believe President Marvel's going to mention the commissioner stuff, so I'll skip over that. I will say with the group sales regarding the athletic department, some of the things going on, we have found a nice niche. I guess with how group sales work, there's a lot of companies out there where their HR department has allocated resources to do things for their employees. And one of those, we presented to these companies some of this idea that they could come to a game and all their employees get in, there's food and there's activities, and so these companies, from the HR perspective, like to do it because they don't have to do a lot of planning. I get it. They just write the check and show up, and all the stuff's taken place for them. So we found a nice little niche that I think is going to be successful for us, which is also what we want, is large crowds at our games and people to have a good time and see what Missouri Southern's about. So I think that's been very successful. As far as September 24th is our Hall of Fame game. In addition to that, we are going to be giving out 1,000 to the first 1,000 folks that show up rally towels of Alan Barber, who's a local who plays for Philadelphia Eagles. And so he's not going to be able to be here, unfortunately. He's got his own game going on against Pittsburgh, but we will have him back in the basketball season, and we'll do a recognition for him there as well. And of course, I'll mail him some of the rally towels for him to give to his teammates, I'm sure, right? But anyway, that will be taking place on September forth. A couple of things that we have done, the fall kickoff event, if you're able to attend that, we had the bounce houses out there. We had over 500 people show up. We had a practice, we had linebackers receive their apparel, we had music, we had a lot of great activities going on. So we think that's something we'll continue, and if anything, it'll probably grow as time goes on. A couple of other exciting things. We have a mobile application we're researching, and it's through a company out of Omaha. However, it's being paid for by Arvis through Walmart is the connection, and they're paying for it regionally for any institution that wants to join this mobile application. So this mobile app, once we get it all, we're going to be launching it for the basketball season. It allows fans to purchase tickets, receive promotional offers, purchase apparel, listen to the game, view stadium maps, all on their mobile device. So we'll be launching that here at the end of October in the basketball season. Now, I understand some of our linebackers don't have mobile devices to that, let alone even a cell phone. But in this case, if you do have one of those smartphones, you'll be able to do a lot of that stuff. And so we're looking forward to that. One thing we're not going to do, though, is we can actually order food and have it brought to your chair. I don't have the staffing for that. So it'd be me running up there with the nachos. So we'll probably not have that portion of the mobile app running.
Okay, good.
Yeah. If you really want them, I'll bring them to you. So, and then just a little bit about our linebacker campaign. We're still in the process. Of course, we'll have a lot of people that sign up for the basketball season. We have over 200 of them. I think we're represented at every level of the linebackers. And a few other events we have going on related to linebackers and annual events are we have a women's soccer evening where there's going to be a dinner and some activities down on the soccer field. So tickets are available for that. It's on October 6th. We also have linebacker appreciation night at the football game on October 15th. And we have a men's basketball is doing a fish fry out in Kansas. The Camo Ranch, which is a booster of ours on some property out there. So that is going on. It'll all the fish is caught out of the pits there, and they're doing the fish fry there. There's also fireworks that evening. And then we're also doing a Paint the Lions event on November 10th, which is it's kind of a new thing where you go and people kind of sit there, you have wine and cheese or whatever, and you paint by numbers somewhat. You've probably done this, right? So that is taking place on November 10th. So if you're interested, that's a few of the events we have going on. But there's a lot more in the report. So I conclude.
Jared, right here.
Jared should be right here.
Jared, I have a question.
Yes.
When they replace the turf on the mound in the batter's box, what do they do with that? Do they donate it to area schools, or I just wondered if on the baseball field?
Well, it's torn. It tears,
okay.
so it's not usable really anymore.
Okay.
So that when that turf, and they just cut out a portion of it. It's rather expensive when you buy it. The expensive thing is to get the people here to install it. The turf itself is not really expensive. But when we did replace the actual football field turf, that was contributed out to around the community. The Osho got some in front of their softball and baseball dugouts. Galena, a lot of high schools and local communities received some of that turf for batting cages and stuff. But this is not really big enough to really do much.
Some of the youth baseball groups got some.
Yeah, there was several. Well, I was over in Galena at one of those facilities, and I saw it was our turf, because I saw our logo in it. I didn't remember them getting it, but we had a long list of people that were coming. We were go down the sequence.
Learn a lot of different ways to get it.
But there was one thing that came to mind. The Rod Smith golf tournament was a success, but Rod's going to have a book coming out soon, and you can pre-order if you want, and he'll autograph it for you. So we'll make you aware of how to do that. Whenever it can cut pretty quick. And it's what he said when he was here. It's one I've read a little bit of it, and it's very complimentary of the experience here at Missouri South.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for Jared? Jared, thank you.
Thank you.
Executive Vice President report, Dr. Brad Hodson. Brad.
Good afternoon. You have a copy of my written report at your place setting. You will notice later in your agenda that Derek Skaggs, who is our Dean of Admissions, will be giving you a detailed report on the fall enrollment, but I do have the privilege of announcing to the group that as of noon today, we have 6,229 students, which is a 7.7% increase and is an all-time record enrollment here at the institution. And again, you can see the historical graph of the last 6 or 7 years. It's important to note, and I'm not sure that Derek would cover this, so I'll do it. But in 2012, our enrollment was 5,417. So in the last 4 years, 812 students, 15% increase in that time. And so again, kudos to the admission staff, the faculty, the staff across campus that all make the experience for prospective students so positive, and you can see the result. Again, Derek will give you a deeper dive on those numbers. And if you flip to the back, if you were downtown last night, and I know Governor Fleischaker, I happened to see you and Diana there, but if you were downtown last night, there were about 8,000 Missouri Southern fans and their families there for Third Thursday. It was a great evening. You can see we had 75 clubs and academic departments represented up and down Main Street, and it was a sea of green and gold. It was really something pretty special. So my thanks to the University Relations and marketing staff that coordinated that effort. They had this giant map of where every table went and where every balloon arch was going to go. And so the reason it worked so well is the detailed planning they put into that effort, and I do appreciate that. So that was a great opportunity to tout Missouri Southern to the local community. And then at your place setting, you also have a letter from the Missouri Department of Natural Resources that relates to the last item in my report, which is the notification to the university that the Buck Buchanan House, which we all call the mansion, has been placed on the National Register of Historic Places, which is a really special honor for this campus. It acknowledges the role that Mr. Buchanan played in the creation of Joplin, the role the mansion played in the early days of this university. And I do want to give a shout out to the Alumni Association, Brad Belk in particular, who's a member of that board, Alan Shirley and Lee Pound from the Alumni Office that helped to shepherd that application through the process. When you convene again in October 21st, there will be a special event, I believe after your meeting, where they will unveil the plaque and give tours of the mansion and have a reception to officially celebrate that designation.
That's great news, Brad. Thank you for your report. I just have to add about the mansion. There are some of us in the room now, and I just maybe ought to look towards your way.
Be careful.
That I remember when that was a very big part of the School of Business, and a lot of good memories about that mansion. So that's great to get that kind of
Wasn't in the
information.
condition it's in.
Oh, my no. Oh, my no. Thank you, Brad. Next up is, any other questions for Brad? Next up is Provost and VP for Academic Affairs, Dr. Paula Carson. Paula.
Thank you. The report is there in front of you, and it's a relatively substantive report this time because I provided some details on all of our new faculty. But before we talk about that, just a couple of issues. On August 7th, Wendy and I traveled to Columbia to meet with other CAOs, Chief Academic Officers, Provost, BPAAs of Missouri Public 2 and 4-year schools. This is a gathering that it happened once last year, it's scheduled to happen twice this year, but a good portion of that meeting is focused on what are the areas of concern and the focal areas of interest for academic VPs moving forward for this particular year. And I wanted to provide you the list that really represents the cumulative concerns or things that people are going to be working on this year. None of them are new to you. I think at some point as I look back on the agendas, we'll have talked about each one of those in some significant way. But I guess I wanted to share this list with you because I think that none of these present really, none of these create angst for us. We have anticipated these, we have worked on these, we have seen these coming down the pipe. We have been proactive, I think, on a lot of these issues, and so while we will be talking about some progress on a couple of them coming up, I think that we are really well positioned and there are no surprises. And so when we meet next month with Academic Affairs Subcommittee, we'll talk about some of them in more detail, but I'm very pleased at how we are positioned academically, strategically speaking. I also wanted to give you all an update on the UMKC Dental School. Dr. Schooler and I traveled to Kansas City on September 1st, and it was all in all a very, very positive meeting that far exceeded my expectations even in we all have high expectations about the dental school. So we actually did post our Yours to Lose online application, made it available to students yesterday. We probably got like 80 of them in an hour. Derek can maybe even comment on that. So that's gone very, very well, and that's progressing as we anticipated, or better than we had hoped, actually. So we need to start focusing on the dental school. And I have while we don't have the MOU formalized yet, I can share with you some of the shared points of collaboration and intentions with the dental school. They are going to start in summer of 16 with their renovation. They are intending to replicate the same level of quality, their clinic in Kansas City, and it's an amazing infrastructure. They spend a great deal of time to focus on the variety of different techniques and equipment and tools and machinery, and even dental chairs, and they have a variety of different vendors that they work with, and they're there, and they go from very, very smaller scale clinics to very upscale clinics. They're replicated in that building. They intend to have the same quality of facilities here. They're currently making significant investments in their technology because much of the first 2-year content that they're acting is going to be distance learning. So it'll be interactive. Each of their classes in Kansas City is 109 students, and it is very, very cohort based. So they're 109, and now we are planning for a cohort at what they are calling the Joplin Satellite Campus of 15 students. So our 15 students here in each class for the 4 years will participate simultaneously with 109 students in the class cohort in Kansas City. So in order to make that interactive and to make our students feel like they are not geographically disparate from Kansas City, they're really upgrading their technology and their delivery and their auditorium and the environment from which their students will be. It is really very, very interesting because this form of dental education has never been implemented before. So distance learning in the way that it's being envisioned has not ever been a pedagogy for dental schools in Dakota. The Council of Accreditation on Dental Schools is very, very interested in looking at it, studying it. HLC, our regional accrediting body, is looking at it very, very closely, and so far all sentiment is that's going to be very positive. But once again, it's exciting to be part of a national academic protocol that is coming here. They are going to have resident faculty here in Joplin, and that is their intent. It has been evolving, and that even implied commitment hasn't been made before. They're gonna have a business manager here, and a couple of other staff members are intended as well. And while we are not going to be able to have a Yours to Lose type program, simply because of the fact that UMKC itself does not offer a Yours to Lose type program to its own undergrads, we have an innovative, sort of expedited admissions process that we are exploring. They offer it to their undergrads right now, and it's their intent to offer it to our undergrads as well, this particular program. So I am very, very pleased with the progress of that whole initiative. They plan to admit students into the Joplin Satellite in the summer of 17 for starting that fall. Speaking of starting, we have talked and we'll talk more about the awesome admissions and enrollment numbers that we have here. And again, I have to offer my thanks and compliments and congratulations to admissions staff and to the whole area, because it's really just amazing just how revitalizing it is. But a lot of the students are going to be taught, and their learning is going to be facilitated by our new faculty. And I talked before about the number and the quality of our new faculty, and the second part of my report is just a brief little summary of all of their academic pedigrees, and for most of them, a little bit about where they came from, what they were doing before they come. I think that you can look at this, and I hope that you will agree that any institution anywhere in the country would really be delighted with the quality and the experiences and the productivity of this faculty. And we're just enormously thankful to have the opportunity to be competitive, to be a place where these faculty members are willing to come and pursue their career. So there are throughout the year different opportunities for us to spotlight in some detail individuals specifically in this list. But if you go into the packet about 4 pages back, I want to talk today about a candidate, a PhD candidate. We hired him as a faculty member. He is ABD, what we call ABD, all but dissertation, which means he's almost finished. His name's David Penning, and we picked him today because he is the subject of enormous popular media coverage. And as Ellen commented, I thought was very insightful earlier, that he is a very, very significant academic, but he also does science that is wildly popular in social media. And so you have just from 2016 the different places that his work has been covered in detail. You also look, if you just did a quick Google search of his name, David Penning, and snakes. He studies snakes, but he doesn't study snakes just to study and understand snakes. He studies snakes because he's trying to look at endurance, muscular ability of snakes, and make applications and generalizations to human populations. But if you look, he has been covered just in the last 2 or 3 months on National Geographic, Smithsonian, UK Daily Mail, Los Angeles Times, all really, really significant outlets. And then on the next page, you can see, if you look at where his collective body of work has been seen because of being on Discovery Channel and a variety of different other popular media, his work has been viewed and has been presented to 118 million people globally. And that is a huge, huge win for us here to begin to develop and evolve our research program. So we're very excited. He is one of many that have similar credentials and qualifications. Just in closing up, there are a couple of other things on my main report. We have our congratulations to Dr. Howard. We call him Howie. He's director of our honors program. You also know that the honors program has significant and record enrollment this year at about 50 students as well. Well, despite all the other things he does, he had time to publish his first novel, and it is available in normal outlets, Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, and he's already gotten some good national attention and recognition for his novel. I also wanted to point out that there are so many things that go on in academic affairs that happen every day, and sometimes you may not even notice or know that there is something to notice. But in the music department that you have heard a lot from last year and we'll hear more from this year, and if you've been to the games, you know, we have a reinvigorated marching band, if you will. We have sort of a different team working with the marching band. We do have some flags and twirlers and a more complete, but what we also have and what we're working on is to be very, very innovative in our marching band experience. So to develop original shows, original choreography, and also original scores. And we presented one, if you guys recall, new arrangement of the Star Spangled Banner at commencement, and it was very, very well received. It respects all the tradition and importance of the pieces, but just builds layers of complexity and desirability around it. We just at this very last football game unveiled a new rendition of our alma mater, again, which respects the tradition of the song, of the tune and the melody and the tempo, but builds fanfare around it that really is important to be able to energize the football experience, athletic experience. So those things are happening all the time. I just wanted to give you a perspective of a faculty member and their motivation for doing so. Finally, just a few events. We have an It's Friday coming up on October 7th. As always, you are welcome, and we would be delighted if you would attend. It's going to be in Criminal Justice Auditorium, again, where it has been, starting at 3 on Friday. That is homecoming week, but it does not conflict. It's going to be presented this time by one of our faculty members in arts and graphic design area, and it is about design for social change and social justice. And then in the other pages of the main handout, I have a little synopsis of Howie's book that I talked about a little while ago, and then 2 unique events that are a little bit different, and ones that are probably not ones that you might look at and think this would be awesome to go to, but I think they would be. They happen to also both be on the same day at different times, so you can make them both. On Friday, September 30th, The first is presentation of Aaron Copeland's Lincoln portrait. This is very exciting because there is a contest in music to decide who is going to be awarded what types of scholarships and what's amount of scholarships. And sort of the winners of those scholarship competitions are offered the opportunity to do solo work. And this is the venue that they will do their solo work. So there will be a pianist and 2 singers, which you recognize because they've been in this very room for you guys singing before, and Dr. Lyle. So that will be a very interesting, innovative program that will highlight some very specific individual talent. And then on that same day, with the concert beginning at 6, right before the other one, we are having early childhood conference, and we are having Jim Gill come, and he will be a speaker and offer a free concert that is in more juvenile music oriented, and how music can impact childhood development, and that will actually be on the Oval pending good weather beginning at 6. So both of these are free and open to the public, and would love to have as many people there as possible. I have one academic policy issue proposal later on, and then Dr. Stebbins will be here to prevent additional opportunities and events for our theme semester activities.
Very good. Any questions for Dr. Carson?
Dr. Carson noticed that several of the new faculty members were listed as visiting faculty members. Is that something you brought here for a specific reason, or is that a stopgap, or what's the reason?
Yeah, it's a very, very, very good question. And I really appreciate it. The optimal time in academic recruiting season is now. We start right now, and that is when faculty members are really looking to begin the next fall. So it's a year in advance, sort of like athletics. We had the phase retirement last year, and for the phase retirement, because it was a new program, for example, we didn't really know until April. And we had other last minute retirements. We also do have a process here where we want to make sure we're not overcommitting. And so we needed to ensure, we needed the resignation that the line was blank before we would begin recruiting. And actually the very next Monday, since you brought that up, I might as well say I'm gonna try and ask for permission from the President's Council to recruit but not hire, in anticipation of what we believe to be upcoming retirements and departures, and then permission to hire. But we are actually starting on Monday again. I'll present probably requests for 18 faculty positions, some of which are imminently gonna be available, we know for sure, and others not, so that we can begin recruiting. The reason we have so many visiting is historically it was a practice that was pretty common, but my main reason freezing visiting when we did is because there were very, very late recruiting in the season, and it's possible we hired the optimal faculty, but I want to do just as comprehensive a search as we can, because obviously we're of national interest to faculty members, and so we're recruiting from all over the country, if not the world. So I want to make sure that we have the largest possible qualified pool.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Carson? Thank you very much. VP for Student Affairs, Mr. Darren Fullerton. Darren.
Just give you a couple highlights of the written report in front of you there. We are still reviewing Senate Bill 656 that was passed through the veto session this week. Many of you may or may not be familiar with that. That involves the gun legislation. The most important thing in our regards at this point is that legislation did carry the verbiage that carrying a firearm is prohibited still at any higher education institution without consent of the governing body of that institution. And so short of this board making any changes, we still would not allow concealed carry on campus. Our law enforcement officers would be carrying, and then any, if the board so chose to have designated officers, academic or administrative faculty staff, the board could designate individuals there, and only those individuals would be allowed to carry on campus. The legislation will probably mean that we need to do a little bit more in signage and some information there, and so we're still working on all that information, but it looks like we still will have the local control by this board of whether or not to allow firearms on campus, so that's a good thing for us. Financial aid disbursement, Linda talked about, timing and what's gone out so far. The first disbursement that her office and the Bursars group, financial aid pulled together, impacted over 2,600, almost 2,700 students, and it was about $6.3 million. Had a few other disbursements out this week. We do still have 2 disbursements pending according to federal regulations for this semester, but they will not be at that magnitude. But that's money that was dispersed to the students. Total aid package through any type of financial aid for students on our campus. That's state, federal, loans, grants, all of those things. Totals about $19 million of aid to our students. You do have attached to the report, there's a kind of a green heading sheet that is by lindedu.com. And of course, everybody's familiar with the headline of 43 million Americans hold over $1.3 trillion in student debt. LendEDU does a ranking by state, so if you look at our rankings on there, they rank from the lowest average debt per borrower in the state of Missouri, and you can see we are the 5th on that list. So we are 4 from the bottom with an average loan debt. Our students total would only be $20,000, and only 50% of our students incur loan debt at this current time. And so I thought that gave you a good idea of the other schools in the state. We did actually look at schools in the region also that did not fall in this state, and we are well under the mark of most of those schools as well. So I thought that was definitely worth noting. Bursar's office, we try to keep you updated on that in-house payment plan, and we're rapidly approaching 1,000 students on that payment plan, and we are 3 years into that payment plan. So we started this in-house, and it's grown each year, and so that has been a tremendous benefit for our students and for the payments on campus here as well. The Advising, Counseling, and Testing Office, just to give you an update there, since August 1st, they've conducted 808 advising appointments, and since August 29th, our Student Success Center has conducted over 93 hours of tutoring for our current students. So just a few numbers to go along with the information that's in the written report. And with that, I would entertain any questions.
Any questions for Darren? Bill?
Darren, what is green dot training?
Green dot training is a bystander training that goes along with the sexual harassment and conduct training. And it's a relatively new, our folks just got certified this year in the green dot training, but all the sexual assault and harassment training that we've done have usually been from the standpoint of how to tell students, faculty, staff to protect yourself and or report. What Green Dot does is try to make people aware of situations and be better active citizens. How can a bystander prevent sexual harassment or sexual abuse or even harassment from occurring, and how can you diffuse that and de-escalate that situation and get folks out of that?
That's excellent. And you
And
said
so,
135 students signed up for that bystander training.
absolutely. With our pods, basically all the freshmen and freshman orientation, our UE 100 class, get a little bit of that information. They don't get the full-blown 4-hour course of the Green Dot, but over 135 have signed up for that full course on their own time. It's not a requirement for anyone. It's just they're signing up to help make the campus a safer place.
That's terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Darren?
How's the dorm situation? Is that the wrong person to ask?
They are still full. We are right at 900 students. It has settled down. If you look at some of the numbers in here, in addition to the record numbers that Derek will talk about, we have had some students that will withdraw, that they weren't able to stay or do those sort of things. So as always, every semester we were able to transition. We've gotten folks off of the waiting list, and so we're still sitting around 900 students, which is still a little over capacity, but everyone's in a good space.
But perfectly in fire code.
In fire code, and it's working well. But definitely still, it's nice to have the residence halls full and have those students living on campus.
According to plan.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Darren? Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
Next up is Faculty Senate President, Dr. Brad Kramer. Brad?
All right, thank you. So my report just kind of summarizes our first meeting of the Faculty Senate. One of the things that we started with this year was kind of picking up where we left off last year with curricular routing documents and making those online. I think that just went live a couple days ago, and a lot of people contributed to that, including Megan Bever, who was our secretary last year. And hopefully that's going to allow the transition or the ability to change or add classes much easier, make that easier, less likely to lose paperwork on the way. As far as new business that we've covered, we welcomed all of our new senators for the year. We had to replace a few that had retired over the summer. And then a lot of what we did in our first meeting was just getting our committee set with faculty senate representation, which is an important job that we have to go ahead and get those committees going. We did consider one academic proposal, which that's the same one that Dr. Carson has mentioned. And we've started a couple of our committees on jobs already. The Academic Policies Committee, we'd like for them to start looking at a few things, including based upon the blueprint for higher education that was presented, as well as Senate Bill 997, looking at ways we can tweak credit hours and where they kind of fit in as far as upper division hours. So academic policy is going to be looking at that, as well as trying to make it easier for transfer students to come in and get basically their full credit that they should get. And then the Faculty Welfare Committee is looking at a new calculator that was put together this last year for how we pay faculty in the summer. And I believe, without being on that committee, but talking to someone on the committee, it's a positive view of the Faculty Welfare Committee, so that should be coming through pretty quickly as well. The last thing that we talked about was the insurance, the self-insurance. We had our liaison to the Faculty Senate, James Donaldson, submitted a report explaining the process that the insurance committee had gone through. And I would like to say on behalf of the Faculty Senate, thank you, Rob, for getting those sessions scheduled. But personally, thank you for getting them scheduled, because I couldn't answer the questions at the Senate meeting, because I'm a biologist. I can tell you what happens when you're sick, but I can't tell you how to pay for it. So we do appreciate the Q&A getting set up. And to also piggyback on Dr. Marble, the work that Rob and Bob have done in the movement as a faculty member directly affected by the move and the renovation. It's been seamless, honestly, so I really appreciate that as well.
A lot of dominoes.
Yeah. And it's not done.
No.
Brad's in the annex.
Very good. Any questions for Dr. Craig?
You discussed leaving Brad the annex after it was done, right?
He might want to stay.
I think, yeah.
He likes it. It's a pretty nice place.
Secluded, it's quiet.
Thank you for your report. Next up is the Staff Senate President, Mr. Chris Owens. Chris.
Not much to report today, but we did have from our Elections Committee an announcement of the winners of our second quarter Service Champ Award. The Southern Service Champ Award is a quarterly award given to 3 outstanding staff. Award winners are selected based on nominations from the campus community. To meet the criteria for nomination, the nominees must meet the attributes of the 5 paths of the Lion Paw, which are respect the campus community, positive attitude, pride in work, exemplary dependability, and excellence in customer service. And the 3 winners for that quarter were Amanda Curtis, Nathan Hicks, and James Kimber. And that concludes my report for today.
Great. Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Owens? Chris? Next up is our Student Senate President, Ms. Amanda Gardner, and welcome to the meeting. I understand last month you had a class that you had to attend to that was very important, so kudos for that. That always comes first. So we'll have your report now.
We finished elections for the Senate that happened the 7th and 8th of September. We had our first meeting this past Wednesday. We're now having senators fill out their forms to be on what committees they want and for the chairs for those committees. We do have 2 vacancies to fill and 1 officer position. I'm definitely looking forward to working with all of them and you guys. Completes my report.
Very good. Thank you, Amanda. Any questions for Amanda? Next item on the agenda is board committees, and I don't believe that we have any to report. I do understand that we'll have one next month. Is that
Yes,
correct?
Budget committee will meet at 10 a.m. Is that
That
still
is
right?
correct.
10 a.m. on the 21st.
We'll look forward to that. Next up is our president, Dr. Al Marley.
Thank you, Governor Carter. It's tough to be at the end here because people talk about everything that's happening on campus. So, there are a few things you have a report in your packet. I just labeled the first item semester launch. It seems to me that this semester's taken off to a flying start. I don't know exactly how to put my finger on it, but there's a certain energy and positive kind of attitude that seems to be on campus that I think everyone enjoys and appreciates, but I wish I knew what the magic sauce was. We do it all the time. We're delighted it's happening. The second item is the CBHE blueprint, which, we talked about the coordinating board going through the process of creating this blueprint. We're preparing Missouri to succeed. Governor Franks was on the group that came up with the work. What I wanted to show you, though, is on the back. If you go back to the third, fourth, fifth page, you can already start seeing, I believe, the gentle hand of Zora Mulligan on the department, because this is very well organized how we're going to need to report progress on our movements toward achieving the goals and the strategies that are laid out in the blueprint, which are, of course, following along with Senate Bill 997. It's very delightful to see that the faculty senate are already ahead of the game and working on things like 15 to finish and 120 hours that are going to be required. But this will be a quarterly report that will come along each quarter that I'll try to pass along to you so you can keep track of where we are in hitting the blueprint targets that were laid out. So actually, I think this is a very, very good thing. Not to criticize anyone in the past, but we've had some pretty mushy kind of goals from coordinating board in years gone by. So you never really knew where you stood or what to report on or who to send the report to or if it was good or bad. This, I think, will be much cleaner. And so we'll send this along to you if you don't get it directly, but I don't think you will. So I'll pass it through. Great game update. The coach committee is working like crazy, coming up with new ideas and working to get the campus trained. That's going very, very well. But this past week, we were very pleased and surprised a little bit to get an invitation. Scott Cragen got an invitation to attend EduTech International Congress, an expo in Sydney, Australia, and present on the great game. If you're not familiar with EduTech, and most of you probably not, it's an enormous, gigantic program. They'll have 8,000 or 10,000 people there. And so we were curious. I know Scott inquired of the organizer, how did you find out? And she wrote back and just said simply, let me read here. I stumbled across an article about the great game of education, which mentioned you. Australia higher education is facing funding and shortfall in government deregulation, so I thought a presentation that covers an alternate approach to finance and budgets would be interesting. I did see the great game of business consulting firm information by delegates along here from MSSU. So we're going to head to Australia sometime next June. I guess Scott is to make this presentation on the great game of education. It's paid for by those folks, so that's a good thing. So I did include a link if you want to find out more about it. This is just a link to the particular Congress that you'll be presenting to. There are 8 separate Congresses with about 1,000 people each meeting there. So it'll be a very, very big deal and a great opportunity, I think, for us to kind of spread the word. And if we can work out our deal with great game business folks, then maybe we start to promote that internationally, not just in the country. The next item I put here, Paul Wagner came to visit. I know many of you know Paul. He's the COFI Executive Director, and that's the Council on Public Higher Education. A couple of weeks ago, Paul was here, I guess. We gathered the president's group together, met with him, and I gave him a tour of campus. And he had not been here in 6 or 8 years, and was just stunned at the changes physically on campus and the programs we're offering, and the plans that we laid out as a group, and how we're all kind of working together to get it done. So I think that inviting him to campus and having him travel around the state and visit all the schools is a good thing, but having him here was fabulous, because not only did he learn about Missouri Southern, he also learned that it's a long drive. And maybe we'll appreciate more that we have to drive that way all the time. Perhaps we could get some of those meetings scheduled in our neighborhood. But Paul does a great job with the legislature, and he will continue to, but it's really better for him, really good for him to get here and get a feel for our campus. Jared mentioned the MIAA Conference Commissioner. We did do the search. I mentioned this last time. Mike Racy has been hired as the new commissioner to take over in November, I think, is some sort of tie-in with Dr. Bob for 2 or 3 months. Mr. Racy has a law degree and a long background, a long history with NCAA. He spent 20 years working for the NCAA and finished up actually as vice president of Division II, so he knows all about our business. And I think we're very, very fortunate to have him in that position. Also had as my last item, I mentioned this, Dr. Hudson already has the historic register and the mansion being put on there. We do owe a gratitude to Brad Belk and Alan Shirley and Lee Pound for the work that they did to get us there. It's a 16-month labor of love, and it's done. So next month we'll celebrate.
I'm glad to answer any questions. Any questions for Alan?
I'm really happy that Dr. Marvel's keeping us up to speed on the whole CDHE blueprint, because it really is going to be of growing importance to Missouri, because what it really does is it highlights the fact that we have to make a lot of changes, a lot of program changes to make it easier to go to college and to make college more seamless, because we are moving towards this goal of 60% in Missouri is having some advanced certification degree. It's a huge challenge, but it means a lot more people need to come through our doors. So we need to make it easy for them to come through those doors and make them successful.
I think those challenges, are taken up by the faculty now, ahead of time. And I think we're going to find some universities may not get that kind of head start. So that's why I'm so tickled to see that we're getting a really good start. So Brad, please pass it along to your folks. We're great.
Great game of education. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to Dr. Craig, Jeff Gibson. You guys have worked very, very hard on this project. I think back to 2.5 years ago, we were meeting in the conference room in your office right before Christmas, and we got a book. It was our Christmas present. You remember that? Alan said, I got you some Christmas reading to do over the break. Have it read by the time you come back. We all read the
sort of
book.
like that.
Well, it was pretty much like that. And it kind of seemed far off, the idea did at that time. But you guys have done great. Sir.
If I'm recognized, I just wanted to let you all know that we have a mini game that's going on with our training, and we have 3 reward levels with 25% of employees are through the complete introductory training and ready to go to our in-class financial training, which will begin next Tuesday. We have a variety of rewards. We have reached the 25% level, which is our first level, where everyone on campus, because it's an all or nothing thing, everyone on campus will get an MSSU lantern pin, and we're also going to put a postcard on that to remind those who haven't, with instructions on the training, to remind those who haven't, who got the reward without the participation, to go in and get the training done. So we're well on our way on winning it.
That's great. And I mentioned 3 names, that's what I mentioned, but I need to back up and say, it's the whole organization. It's the only way this thing works is to get everybody involved. And I know that's what you're pushing for, and it's what's working. So congratulations to everybody. Any other questions for Alan? Is there any old business to come before the body? Under new business, Dr. Marble has an item to discuss on a naming opportunity.
I do. As you know, our naming policies for buildings and rooms and areas within buildings, typically inside the buildings, the administration would have the authority to name a lab for a significant gift, those kinds of, which we often would do. But the naming of a building is something that the board should take up. But we would like to make a recommendation to you. And the recommendation is that the new building that will be built on the south side of Reynolds and attached by the walkway, we recommend for all the support that Governor Nixon has provided, not only Missouri Southern, but Joplin following the tornado and years following, that we honor him with the naming of that building. So that would be the recommendation, we name that building Jeremiah J. Nixon Hall, or whatever he prefers exactly.
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion on behalf of the board that Missouri Southern formally name the new extension of Reynolds Hall, to change the name of Reynolds Hall to the Jeremiah J. Nixon building.
Very good. We have a motion on the floor from Governor Franks. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Mrs. Hershaway makes the second. Is there any discussion on this item? All those in favor of the item indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I think that's very well done. He's really helped a lot at the university.
Certainly has.
The collaboration that was shown on this project, which all of us know was, we weren't sure at all that any of this was going to happen. Senator Richard, Governor Nixon, and the staffs involved in all this was impressive to see. So while we thank Governor Nixon, we also thank all those involved. But, we won't have to get there without his help, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Everyone worked together. It was a bipartisan example that maybe others in Washington or somewhere different learn from.
And it continues our tradition too. We have other buildings here named after governors that have also contributed historically.
Excellent.
I work in one.
That's right. That's right. Every day. All right. Thank you, Alan. Next up, Dr. Carson, you have some consideration of academic policies proposal.
Thank you. I have but one, and it is in your binder. It's identified as proposal BU 151695. It involves a course in engineering technology, department in the Foster School of Business. And it is just very much the simple addition of program outcomes to the syllabus. It doesn't affect the learning goals or anything else. We are trying to ensure for each and every course that we're very clearly communicating to our students what it is that we hope and anticipate that we'll learn in each and every course, and also at the program level in each and every major. It's a requirement for HLC, but also it's just good educational practice. So this is one that we just needed to add. I talked about the new curricular routing system. It's going very, very well. We opened it Monday, and we probably had 7 that day, just a large number. So we're looking for ways to more efficiently present those to you guys as well. We start looking at curricular changes and structural changes, course numbering changes, but for now, it's a pretty easy one.
Very good. So this is your recommendation, we adopt this proposal?
It is our recommendation and a request for adoption.
You've heard the recommendation from approval. Governor Gibson moves for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Governor Flashek. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next up, we're going to talk about the British semester and Dr. Stebbins.
Stebbins gets out of class at 2, and so it's right. He's probably running over here now.
Well, how about if we skip and go to the next one, we will come back.
If you don't mind, that would be much appreciated.
That's great. We're going to get an exciting enrollment report from Mr. Derek Skaggs, who's bringing good news to the table, as he told me before the meeting.
There they are.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and do this, and we'll go back to it.
Well, as Governor McCumber mentioned, talking about the Great Game program, it takes the entire campus, or the entire campus is involved. And the same is true with enrollment. So I'm going to show you a few things as of as Brad had mentioned as of earlier today, and then I just got an email. We were laughing at lunch. I just got an email. I had 5 more students who enrolled in dual credit. So anyway, here we go, which is good news too. So this is a chart. I think you already have part of this in Brad's report that he issued, but I think what's significant is this is the tornado period here, and I don't want to embarrass Jeff Gibson, but we talked about he kind of uses the tornado as a point to measure, to get back to how many students were enrolled and also credit hours generated. So you can see we've had a steady climb up to where we are now, which is over 6,200. I'm pleased to say that that is a record enrollment for Missouri Southern. The previous record was in 1990, and it was 6,012. And so I'm very, very excited about that. And I know this is Linda was giving the financial report, and good news there, and good news here as well, where you have over 70 to almost 73,000 credit hours generated, and you can see a large increase since the tornado, which took place in 2011. And of course, this is where the funds are generated from tuition revenue. And and this is the first time we've ever been over 70,000 semester credit hours generated, which is another record. Okay, so this is kind of head count analysis and freshmen, so forth. So I know this slide looks kind of close together and maybe not as easy as to read as some of the others, but so there's your comparison between the years, and that's a 7.7% increase in enrollment. And our goal this year was 6,000 students, so we're going to have to go back and reset our goals for the future based on what we had today. Freshmen is 1,063. That's actually the second largest freshman class that we've had. The largest was in 1989. Transfer is a new record, 682. International is a new record, 247. Graduate is a new record at 115. Our goal for graduate students was to try to get to 100, and so good information there. Total enrollment in-state, you can see we had an increase in in-state students, an increase of out-of-state students, and an increase in Lion Pride. And Julie Wingert in dual credit also had a record enrollment, and I think I can add 5 more to that. So
it's still early in the day. It's still early in the day.
That's right. Okay, any questions about that chart so far before?
Out of state are those that are out of state but not in Lion Pride.
It's total out of state, but the Lion Pride represents part of that out of state enrollment. Does that make sense?
Okay, so
okay. Yeah. So of the 1,424 out of state, 1,070 of them are Lion Pride. And this is just a little breakdown for you about freshmen. So there were 1,063, 807 of them were in state, and then 256 out of state, and then out of those, Lion Pride was 224. These are some areas of growth. Just from the map, you can see the lion heads there. Let me talk about Missouri first. So that's our primary feeder area here. We were up in enrollment, total enrollment there. That's the Springfield-Branson area. We were up there. Of course, the St. Louis metropolitan area, we were up. And the Kansas City metropolitan area, we're up. We're up in the whole state of Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, which was the primary, the first 3 of the Lion Pride tuition area. And then the other states were added, and this is the first year for those. And you can see we were up in Texas and Tennessee, Kentucky, and Iowa for the additional states that were added as part of the Line Pride. Now, those numbers in Tennessee and Kentucky are small. We hope to see those continue to grow. But much success with the Line Pride. All of this was part of a plan. You know, you mentioned Governor McCumber earlier about when Darren was talking about residence halls, and came just as a plan, and it's the same here. This is a plan that has been executed by several offices on campus. I think sometimes, and I don't want to take anything away from the admissions office because the staff did a terrific job there, but it is very much a group effort, and I congratulate Paula and the faculty, the deans and department heads, because they created new sections, opened up new sections to handle the demand, and a lot of it was in the science area. And as Brad will tell you, you know, we did this at the same time that we're renovating Reynolds Hall, and that's a huge, huge accomplishment. So athletics had a major role in this. The music department, band students. I mean, there's all, and that's what I was getting to, is that it's a campus-wide effort, and marketing efforts, Cassie and her team. I just can't say enough. You know, sometimes an office gets all the credit, and everybody needs to know that there's credit all over campus. And, we greatly appreciate the support, and looking forward to starting a great year. So I'm open to any questions anybody has. Yes, sir.
I can't help but fall back on 35 years of marketing, but people don't understand sometimes what this type of accomplishment is. The number of high school grads in the state of Missouri is not a growing number right now.
That's correct.
At a particular time. And that means that you've grown your enrollment, you took market share from somebody else. That means it's a very difficult job to do. Kudos are really twice as much. Everybody in the Midwest is trying to recruit Texas and Illinois, because those are the two places where there are college students again. But to grow it in your own home market says that somebody around here is doing something good, and other people are recognizing that. So I just want everyone to appreciate this didn't just happen because there were suddenly more people in the market for this product. It's happened because this product shines above some other folks, and somebody here is doing a good job.
Absolutely.
And thank you for those comments.
And the beauty of such things is success, breeds success. And those of us in our communities, as I mentioned before the meeting, you have a lot of people comment to you positive things in Missouri Southern, just when you have general conversations. Those are good things. So.
Anybody else?
Thank you so much. I don't have a comment, a question, but I did have a comment. Derek, very helpful, appreciate that, but you did a great job.
Well, thank you. Like I said, great team, and sales. You're only as good as your product, and so it's a great school, and a lot of people are recognizing that, and so glad to be a part of it.
Great job.
Thank you very much.
See, we have Dr. Stevens in the room. We skipped over you for just a minute, and we're coming back to you now. You're going to talk about the British semester, I understand.
All right, thank you for this opportunity to tell you a little bit about the Great Britain semester. And this is the 20th year now that we've had the theme semester program, where we choose a different country every fall semester to feature that country on campus. And it is a group of interested faculty who make the selection a year or two in advance of what that country will be. Next fall will be the Korea semester, if you're interested. And so we bring the world to the campus as part of our statewide mission in international education. And we put a lot of emphasis here on our study abroad programs, but we realize that not everyone is able to take advantage of those opportunities. So with the theme semester, we bring the world to the campus. The Great Britain semester has about 40 events. This week, in fact, has been perhaps our busiest one with 7 events alone this week. You're going to hear from Dr. Jim Williams in a minute, who made 3 presentations today. Two of our own faculty presented earlier this week, Jim Lyle and Vicki Rutger. We had a British film Tuesday night, brief encounter, and there's also a Southern theater play going on. Started Tuesday night, it winds up Saturday night, and I have tickets in my pocket. If you haven't made your reservations yet, see me afterwards. I've got a dozen tickets that I'd like to give away for Saturday night. So we bring in guest speakers on the country. As I mentioned, we use a lot of our own faculty. I think we have a record 8 faculty making presentations this semester, and a retired faculty member, Dr. Jim Jackson. We have Southern Theater. We have the music department putting on 4 different presentations of British music, 3 in October and 1 in November. We have the British Film Festival, 11 films, primarily on Tuesday evenings. All of these events, of course, are open to the community, and we do get quite a few people from the community. Today, we had people from the community who attended all 3 presentations by Dr. Jim Williams. And the community particularly likes the evening events, they like the films and the concerts. Our freshmen are all reading a book called The Last Enchantments by an American author, Charles Finch, who will be coming here in November for 2 days. The Last Enchantments is a novel that takes place at Oxford University. So we really feel that through the theme semesters, we reached virtually every student, and that by the time a student graduates, he or she would have experienced 4 or 5 different countries and different cultures. So I'm going to introduce Dr. Jim Williams next, who up until this past April was the executive director of the National Churchill Museum in Fulton, Missouri. And he's got quite a story he's going to tell you in abbreviated form of how that came to be. How did Fulton, Missouri, Westminster College, end up with the National Churchill Museum? Part of it goes back to 1946, and he'll give a bit more detail. But Winston Churchill actually gave his Iron Curtain speech in Fulton. So how did that happen? And how did Fulton get a Christopher Wren church moved from London to Fulton? So without further ado, let me give you Dr. Jim Williams, who will be talking 5 to 10 minutes. And this is the presentation he just gave an hour ago over in Corley Auditorium. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me today. You work people hard when they come here to speak. Happy to do it. I've never been to your campus before. I grew up in Kansas City. Chose to go to Westminster College 30 years ago and graduated. After writing my senior thesis as a history of this place, it's the church, what we called then the Churchill Memorial, now the National Churchill Museum. Those are a couple of aerial photos that were taken about a year ago when I was still the director and we were doing some preservation work and had a drone come in and take pictures. So briefly, the number one question we get in Fulton when people come after where are the restrooms are, why is this here? I was driving along I-70, I saw this sign, National Churchill Museum. Why is it here? I don't know how people describe Joplin, but Fulton is kind of the middle of nowhere, even though Columbia and Jefferson City are right there. So the answer to that, there's a couple of parts to. One, you just heard, in 1945, the president of Westminster, I don't know about your presidents, but Westminster has had a series of pretty audacious presidents in the 20th century. And the one in 1945 was named Bullitt McClure. He was an alum, probably about this tall, but was called Bullitt because apparently when he was a debater as a student, he just rat-a-tat-tat-tat in debating, so they called him Bullitt. And he got the idea, Churchill's just been thrown out of office, maybe we can get him to come here and speak. He didn't care that Westminster had a couple hundred students in this town with, what did I say, 8,200 or something. In the tiny college in this tiny town in the middle of Missouri that nobody'd ever heard of. Well, as you know, if you try to get President Obama, for instance, or somebody like that to come to Joplin and speak at Missouri Southern, you have to know somebody who knows somebody, or many people who know somebody, to get something like that to happen. So the version of that story in 1945 is that a classmate of his from the 19-teens, another alumnus named Harry Vaughn, happened to be President Truman's military aide. So Bullitt McClure goes to Washington. He has a letter all made out to be sent to Mr. Churchill, inviting him to give a lecture in this lecture series that they had called the John Finley Green Foundation Lecture. And he asked his buddy, Pug, was his nickname, Pug Vaughn, do you think the boss will...
I've got one.
Bullet the Pug.
Pug, and there's a dog, and all these nicknames. So General Vaughn says, well, let's go to the Oval Office and see. So, of course, things were simpler back then. The president has a few minutes. Sure, come on in. So at the bottom of the letter that reached Churchill, the invitation from Westminster College, signed by Frank L. McClure, you may have seen it. There's a handwritten postscript. This is a wonderful school in my home state. Hope you can do it. I'll introduce you, Harry S. Truman. So of all the hundreds of invitations that Churchill was getting after he got kicked out of office in the fall of 45, everybody knew he was a speaker. He wanted to speak his mind. He wanted to stay involved. So the invitations were coming in. That was the only one in the pile that had President Truman's, not like, oh, I think you should do this, but I'll come with you and introduce you. So that's the answer to that question. Why Westminster? Why Fulton? Because of General Vaughn, Bullitt McClure, Harry Truman. Churchill knew he was a smart guy. He knew if he came on the president's train, that all the newsreels would be there talking about marketing, communication, all the reporters from all over the world, the newspapers, the networks, the radio, they broadcast it live over all these networks. People said, the networks will never broadcast. Every single one of them did, the radio, the newsreels. So he knew the value of that. So that's why Churchill came. Now the second part of the story, which I'll make quick, why do we have this Christopher Wren Church that was bombed on December 29, 1940 and stood as a shell, just the walls and the tower were standing in London, not far from St. Paul's Cathedral, until 1961. Audacious President number 2 comes along and says, it's the 50th anniversary of that speech, it's gone down in history as pretty significant. We need to do something. And again, back to marketing, we have this product that we need to take advantage of. They didn't really talk about it in those terms, but it hasn't hurt Westminster to have this event take place there. And so they threw around some ideas, and it just so happened that week in Life magazine, they published an article with this photo spread of all of these churches in London that had been bombed. We're still standing. What are we going to do with them? They're going to be torn down. The president and this architect who was there for the meeting said, I wonder if we could get one of those churches. Our chapel is sliding down the hill. I didn't mention that earlier, but College Chapel is up there on the hill across the gymnasium. It was sliding down the hill. It's no longer there anymore. We need a chapel. We need a memorial. Christopher Wren, great symbolism. This church that was destroyed in the Great Fire of London in 1666, Christopher Wren rebuilt it in its present form in 1677. Destroyed again by the Nazis. Let's bring it back, bring it over as a memorial to Winston Churchill and the ideals in the speech of Anglo-American friendship, world peace, how to get that. The Iron Curtain speech is more than just the Iron Curtain. It was really Churchill's recipe for peace after World War II. So they raised the money. It took 8 years. You all could probably raise it overnight, $1.5 million. But that's how much it cost back in the 60s to get the permission. There's a long story. You'll read my book someday about it. Of getting permission, getting the stones taken apart, bring them over, the confusion of having some mixed up and all that stuff. So the church was brought over and dedicated in 1969 by Lord Louis Mountbatten. The church's daughter Mary was there. So a big event in Fulton in 1969. And then there's a statue of Churchill you can sort of see along those stairs to the right. It came along in the early 70s. And then there's that kind of colorful chunk of concrete down there on the left. That's a 32-foot section of the Berlin Wall with a couple of silhouettes cut out of it. When the Berlin Wall fell, Churchill's granddaughter, Edwina Sands, who's an artist, said, I'm going to get a piece of that wall and we'll bring it over here and it'll be a sculpture. The place where my grandfather said an iron curtain has descended across the continent, we'll bring a piece of that iron curtain and I'm going to cut that silhouette of the man and the woman and call this breakthrough because it's them breaking through from tyranny to freedom. And what great symbolism. Oh, and Ronald Reagan has agreed to come in 1992 to dedicate the sculpture. So again, Churchill has long coattails that have survived a long time. And since then, you may have heard, I know Paul took some students up there in 1992 when Mikhail Gorbachev came and spoke in front of the wall that Ronald Reagan challenged, Mr. Gorbachev to tear down this wall. He shows up. Just like Churchill, he was on an American speaking tour, but his first stop was in Fulton, in front of that wall. And then he went on to talk at Harvard and all these other places that didn't make the news like Fulton did. So that's why the speech was there, and now the museum is there. It was renamed the National Church and Museum several years ago when the House of Representatives in Washington passed a resolution declaring that. So that's the museum compound there, the statue, the sculpture, the church, and then up the hill behind from where this picture, and that left-hand picture up kind of in the left-hand corner, is the gymnasium where Churchill delivered these speeches. It's still the functioning college gymnasium. So visitors to Fulton can see the museum, the church, the Berlin Wall, and the gym, and spend several hours learning about Churchill. His life of leadership is the theme of the museum. So if any of you have not been there, I hope you will make a point to stop sometime. Thank you all again for having me here. Good job. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Very learned something today for sure. Are there any other items to be brought before the body? You see listed on number 6 the list of the future meeting dates. And as you look at those future meeting dates, I suppose at one of them we can come up with a nickname for Dr. Marble. So we'll be working on that. So
we just need to talk to his old classmates here.
Probably so. Item number 7 is we have a need to go into executive session. And the need to go into executive session, I'll read the reason under RSMO 610-021-2, leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate by a public governmental body where public knowledge of the transaction might adversely affect the legal consideration thereof, and RSMO 610-021-3, relating to hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting of a particular employee by a public governmental body where personal information about the employee is discussed or recorded. Other matters that may be discussed in closed meetings as set forth in RSMO 610-021. I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Governor Plotnick, is there a second?
Second.
Is that Governor Franks? Is that right? I guess we need to call roll.
Tracy Flanagan is absent. Jim Fleischaker.
Yes.
Michael Franks.
Yes.
Bill Gibson.
Yes.
Keith Hankins.
Yes.
Allison Hershoway.
Yes.
Mitch McCumber.
Yes.
Anita Oplotnik.
Yes.
I I suppose we will adjourn to executive session.
No, I do need, I think.
Meeting.